not even on Division I level, not even averaging more than 800 people per game. Nasty, nasty work. We got to get into all of this. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video as always. So we've heard for so long now, oh, the Caitlin Clark effect isn't real. Oh no, it's just she's not that. It's everybody. Everybody is the reason that the game is growing.
800 fans. That's it. Not per school. Across the entire Division I women's basketball landscape. Arenas that were packed to the rafters just 18 months ago can't fill a high school gym today. And if you thought that was shocking, wait until you hear what's happening with Unrivaled, the league that was supposed to change everything. Welcome to Keep the Vision. And before we dive into this absolute freefall, make sure you...
I love watching these players. The fact of the matter is this. 2024, women's college basketball saw massive growth, setting new tournament attendance records. Over 292,000 fans for first, second rounders, driven by high interest in teams like South Carolina, etc. Okay, now we know this is all a part of the Caitlin Clark situation, the Caitlin Clark effect. Okay, we all know that. Caitlin Clark shot these numbers up to...
Smash that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss a single breakdown. Because what I'm about to show you is going to flip everything you thought you knew about women's basketball on its head. For 2 solid years, we've been hearing the same story over and over again. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't real. It's not just one player carrying the sport. It's the collective effort, the rising stars, the depth of talent across women's
No media is even coming to the games. Guys, they're not even averaging 800 people per game anymore. They are below what it was in 2023. Now in 2023, these were the numbers. Okay? And the numbers now are lower than what they were in 2023. Obviously, it's not what it was.
Basketball that's driving all this unprecedented growth. That's what they told us. That's what the analysts repeated on every major network. But here's the problem with that narrative. The numbers don't lie, and right now, those numbers are screaming a truth that a lot of people don't want to admit. Division I women's college basketball is averaging 800 people per game. Let that sink in for a second. Teams that were selling out massive arenas, breaking attendance records, and creating a cultural phenomenon are now playing in front of crowds so small.
Division I is not above 800 people. Now that Caitlin Clark is now 2 years removed, the interest is no longer there. You guys thought it was about all of these, and I love the Hannah Hidalgos. They're not selling out. They're not moving the needle. The ratings are down across the board in women's college basketball. And I love women's college basketball. The people don't even really watch the videos like that.
You could fit them in a couple of school buses. This isn't a minor dip. This is a catastrophic collapse. But it doesn't stop at the college level. Unrivaled, remember that league? The one with all the hype, the massive financial backing, the equity stakes for players, and the promise of revolutionizing how we consume women's basketball in the off-season? Yeah, that league. Right now, it's getting crickets. Nobody's talking about it. The engagement is virtually non-existent. And here's the question nobody seems to want to ask out loud. What changed? What's the difference between the explosion we saw in early 2024 and the deafening silence we're hearing now? Let me take you back to March of 2024, because that wasn't just a good month for women's basketball. It was a completely different universe. The NCAA tournament shattered every conceivable attendance record. Over 292,000 fans showed up for just the first and second round games. Iowa was averaging 16,000 fans per game during their March Madness run. The final 4 games sold out months in advance. And here's something that really puts it in perspective. Pre-game practices were drawing bigger crowds than some teams' actual games are pulling today. This was less than 2 years ago, people. Less than 2 years, and we've gone from that kind of electric atmosphere to 800 fans scattered across arena sections, looking like they showed up to the wrong event. Now, the numbers we're seeing today aren't just disappointing. They're apocalyptic. We're back to 2023 attendance levels. Actually, scratch that. We're worse than 2023. We're worse than 2020. Division I programs across the country are staring at empty seats, wondering where everybody went. And it's not like these numbers dropped gradually over time, giving programs a chance to adjust or figure out a marketing strategy. No, this was a free fall. A straight nosedive from record-breaking heights to rock bottom in what feels like the blink of an eye. Want a perfect case study? Let's talk about UCLA. The Bruins head coach actually went public with something most programs are too embarrassed to admit. Media isn't showing up to their games anymore. Think about what that means for a second. We're talking about UCLA, one of the bluest of blue blood programs in all of college sports. They're located in Los Angeles, one of the biggest media markets on the planet. They have Lauren Betts, a generational talent who's projected as a potential number 1 overall draft pick. She's leading a top 5 team in the country. UCLA is a legitimate national championship contender with a roster stacked with talent. And they can't average 5,000 fans per game. 5,000 in a city of millions, with a championship caliber team. Meanwhile, just 2 years ago, Iowa was packing 15,000-seat arenas in small college towns in the middle of nowhere. The contrast isn't just striking. It's downright embarrassing for the sport. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Caitlin Clark has been out of college basketball for 2 years now. 2 full years removed from the game. And suddenly the interest has evaporated like it was never there. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But what about all those other talented players? What about Hannah Hidalgo, Malaysia Fulwilly, Olivia Miles? These are incredible athletes. Hannah Hidalgo at Notre Dame is absolutely electric to watch. Malaysia Fulwilly at South Carolina has highlight reel plays every single game. Olivia Miles is back from injury and dominating like she never left. These aren't scrubs. These are legitimate stars with compelling, must-watch basketball games. And you know what? The videos covering them get minimal engagement. Television ratings for women's college basketball are down across every single network. It's not because these players aren't talented. It's not because the games are boring. The product on the court is still quality basketball. But the audience that showed up in 2024, they're gone, vanished. And everybody knows exactly why, even if some people refuse to say it out loud. Now, let's pivot to Unrivaled, because this situation might be even more revealing than what's happening in college basketball. Right now, and I mean right this second, nobody is talking about Unrivaled. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to hate on anyone. I'm being completely serious. The engagement is frighteningly low. Nobody cares. The league launched in January of 2025 with absolutely massive hype. This was supposed to be the League of Stars, featuring the best players in women's basketball competing in an exciting 3-on-3 format. They offered unprecedented salaries, equity stakes for the athletes, and had commitments from legitimate WNBA All-Stars like Breanna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, and Kelsey Plum. These are champions, MVPs, the elite of the elite, building something they promised would be special. Then the 2026 season started, and suddenly the conversation just disappeared. Social media engagement dropped off a cliff. Nobody's debating the games. The league's own posts are getting a fraction of the interaction they desperately need to survive. And here's the kicker. The biggest names aren't even there anymore. Angel Reese didn't return for year 2. Sabrina Ionescu didn't return for year 2. Caitlin Clark never joined despite constant speculation and rumors. Aya Wilson stayed with her normal WNBA off-season routine. Wait, I thought this was supposed to be the League of Stars. Instead, they've got players like Ari McDonald, who literally didn't have a job at the start of last season. That's not a knock on her, but when your marquee league is filling roster spots with players who were unemployed months earlier, That's not exactly the star power you promised. Let's dig into Angel Reese's situation for a second because it perfectly illustrates the problem. She averaged 14 points and 12 rebounds during the 2025 WNBA season. She was the unrivaled Defensive Player of the Year in the inaugural season. She was on the championship team, Rose BC. She was vocal, really vocal, about Unrivaled being the only league she'd participate in during the off-season. She talked it up constantly, and then she didn't come back for year 2. The official explanation involved rest and recovery from back issues, which is fair. She missed 14 games in the WNBA season dealing with persistent pain. But Reese herself also said the league didn't deliver on promises about facilities and locker rooms. When your Defensive Player of the Year and champion is publicly calling out broken promises, that's a massive red flag. Reese even posted on social media asking her old team, "Y'all miss me yet?" And Rose BC responded with all the love in the world, but the damage was done. The optics are terrible. So now Paige Buchers is the face of Unrivaled for 2026. And look, Paige is an incredible talent. She's absolutely elite. This isn't a criticism of her as a player at all. But here's the undeniable reality. The engagement isn't there. The buzz isn't there. Compare the conversation around Unrivaled right now to the conversation when it launched. Compare it to the frenzy when people thought Caitlin Clark might join. The difference is staggering. In one off-season, this league went from must-see television to complete background noise. And that should terrify everyone involved in women's basketball. Here's the part that really gets under my skin. For 2 full years, we heard the same narrative pushed by analysts, commentators, and people within the sport itself. The growth isn't about one player. It's about the collective. It's about all these rising stars. It's about the depth of talent. Analysts literally went on television and said explicitly that the Caitlin Clark effect wasn't real. They said attributing the growth to one player was disrespectful to everyone else who contributed to building the game. They had charts ready. They had talking points prepared. Every single time someone dared to suggest that Clark was the primary driver of this popularity explosion, they got shouted down with prepared rebuttals. But the numbers now tell a completely different story. In 2024, Caitlin Clark's final college season, every attendance record was shattered. In 2025, her first year gone, there was a significant drop. In 2026, 2 years removed, we've fallen below 2023 levels. Division I programs are averaging under 800 fans per game. That's not a gradual decline. That's not a return to normal baseline numbers. That's a free fall. And it's not because the quality of play decreased. Hannah Hidalgo is must-watch basketball. Juju Watkins at USC is breaking records left and right. The talent is absolutely there, but the audience isn't. Unrivaled's trajectory reveals the same exact pattern. That league had everything going for it, structurally. Big financial backing, equity stakes keeping players invested, a compressed season that fit perfectly into the WNBA off-season calendar, star power from established professionals, an entertaining format where 3-on-3 naturally creates more possessions, more highlights, more action, professional production quality that rivals anything else in women's basketball. On paper, every single box was checked. This should have worked. But without Clark, the conversation died almost immediately. The league is still operating. Games are still happening. But the cultural moment, that electricity, that sense of watching something special, it evaporated into thin air. Think about what this actually means. You have a league featuring WNBA All-Stars. They're offering 6-figure salaries. The production is legitimately professional. The competition is real. It launched with massive media coverage and social media buzz everywhere you looked. 12 months later, it can barely generate engagement on its own posts. The only time Unrivaled trends on social media now is when someone points out that Caitlin Clark isn't in it. That's not a sustainable business model. That's a ticking time bomb. Looking at the college game, you can see some exceptions. South Carolina, the defending national champion with Camila Cardoso carrying the torch after Iowa Wilson, still draws well. Iowa maintained strong attendance because the Caitlin Clark era built a passionate fan base that actually stuck around. UConn has decades of tradition propping up their numbers. But the sport as a whole? The rising tide that was supposed to lift all boats has receded dramatically. Teams that had their best attendance numbers ever in 2024 are back to playing in front of sparse crowds. Programs that invested serious money in women's basketball infrastructure, expecting sustained growth and new revenue streams, are staring at sections of empty seats, wondering what went wrong. Television networks are feeling the pain too. ESPN and Fox built out their women's college basketball coverage, expecting the 2024 numbers to be the new baseline. They added more games to the schedule. They increased production budgets. They hired additional analysts and commentators. And now those games are pulling a fraction of the viewership. It's not that the broadcasts are bad. The presentation is actually better than it's ever been. But the viewers who tuned in to watch Iowa play literally anyone in 2024 aren't tuning in to watch other ranked matchups in 2026. The casual audience that discovered women's basketball through Caitlin Clark hasn't transferred their interest to other players. They came for her, and when she left, they left too. This creates a genuine crisis for the sport's growth trajectory. Women's basketball had a real breakthrough moment. Mainstream sports fans who had never watched before were suddenly invested. Arenas were packed. Ratings were surging. Merchandise was flying off shelves. The infrastructure to support continued growth was being built across the country. But that growth was more fragile than anyone wanted to admit because it was concentrated around one transcendent talent who connected with audiences in a way that happens maybe once in a generation. Michael Jordan did it. Tiger Woods did it. Caitlin Clark did it. And now that she's gone, the sport faces a brutal choice. Option 1. Keep insisting the growth was collective and watch the numbers continue falling. Option 2. Acknowledge what actually drove the surge and figure out how to build sustainable interest without that singular draw. Because right now the evidence is overwhelming. Caitlin Clark wasn't just part of the story. She was the story. And without her, the audience that showed up in 2024 has largely moved on. That's not disrespectful to other talented players. It's just reality. And pretending otherwise doesn't help anyone. The talent pipeline in women's basketball is legitimately strong. The product on the court is entertaining. But if 800 fans per game becomes the new normal for college basketball, and if Unrivaled can't generate buzz despite having WNBA All-Stars, then the sport needs a serious conversation about what actually drives fan engagement. Because whatever made 2024 special, it's not replicable by simply having other talented players on the court. The Caitlin Clark effect was real. The collapse after she left proves it beyond any doubt. And the sooner the sport acknowledges that truth, the sooner it can figure out how to build something sustainable for the future. So here's my question for you. Was this growth always going to be temporary without Clark? Or did the sport miss a golden opportunity to convert casual fans into permanent supporters? Drop your take in the comments below. And if you want more honest breakdowns of what's really happening in women's basketball, hit that subscribe button right now.